Hi, I'm going to walk you through a prompt chain that helps you do a risk mitigation strategy. So this is going to be a chain. I'll use a Notion document to give you the full set of prompts, but you're going to run these one by one, and you're going to want to stay to the end because I'm going to show you a really cool way at the end how we can use an app that'll generate a very professional PowerPoint deck for you once you've gone through your prompts. All right, so stay with me to the end, and I'll help you do that. And so a little bit about me before I get started is that I help teams actually take and use AI to figure out how to create chains like I'm going to show you today to do different roles, different deliverables that you have in your role. So for example, today we're going to talk about the risk mitigation strategy. So I'm going to copy and paste these in. And like I said, I'll give you a link to the prompt chain library after this. So basically what we want to do is just want to kind of warm it up, let ChatGPT know that we're going to be building a risk mitigation strategy. And we're going to do it for, if you didn't watch my other video, we use a simple order tracking application. So we're going to basically build the risk register for that order tracking application. And so it's going to ask me about the project scope. And so that's cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to, now you can have it figure out this risk register, but what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to attach a risk register that I already have for the project that we created, right? So I'm going to go ahead and attach a risk register to this. And I'm going to give it this prompt, and I'm going to basically say, use this risk register that I've attached, and then for each, briefly explain the risk in one sentence. Okay, so what we're doing is we're building up the context in the prompts, right? So it's going to review the risk register. It's going to categorize them into strategic, operational, financial, and external, right? So here's risk one, view the order status, give you a little bit of overview. It'll give you an estimate of what it thinks the impact is, medium strategy, and then it's going to categorize it, right? Now you can go in and while you're prompting this, if you believe that this should be something else, you can say, modify risk to R2 to be high, and it'll update the chart. Okay, so we're just going to continue down with building out our prompts. So now what we want to do, or building out our strategy, is that now what we're going to do is for each of the risks, we're going to assign the likelihood of the impact. So now we're going to just basically what we're going to do is we're going to iterate through this risk register and keep basically enhancing it with more and more detail. Right, so now we have the likelihood of impact. It's high, medium, and the likelihood that it'll happen. Right, so this is good to know. So we're going to continue down. Now we're going to go to the fourth prompt, and we're going to look for basically active ways to mitigate these risks. Right, so it's going to go through and basically give you some just high level of the things that you could do to mitigate the risks in this. Thinking a lot and going through. And again, we're just building on our table, right? Now we have, the user story, the risks, the impact, and then a mitigation strategy. Implement validation and cache fresh logic to show last updated. And this category is technical, right? So again, just kind of chipping through this. Then now we're going to go to the next prompt. And here, what we want to do is we want to assign the typical role. Now, one of the things you can do to enhance these is you can actually identify your roles and responsibilities. And, God love you if you have a RACI diagram or RACI chart. You can add that to the prompt to, as an attachment at the beginning, and this will be even more specific to your organization and how you share your risks. Okay, so it's going to go through high impact, likelihood, mitigation, strategy, technical, blah, 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 down to the end. And so now it's going to give you a responsible role, right? Makes sense for this, the technical category. You have the tech lead, QA lead, you got a DevOps engineer, product owner, and product manager, right? So they're working through who's supposed to be tracking these risks, right? And so now what we want to do is we're going to combine all of these. So combine all the above and into these columns. So now what we want to do is we want to start to shore up what we want our table to look like. This is where you would, at this point, if you have a specific way that you communicate with this to your organization, this is where you'd want to start to modify that. Right? And so this is just standard table format that I've used in the past. And so now here's your complete strategy, right? So you have the back end return incomplete or outdated status data. Who's responsible for that? Technical guy. It's medium likelihood that this will happen. The impact is high. Risk rating is high. Mitigation strategy is you want to implement an automated back end health checks, altering for state and use, tech lead. So the good thing is that so these are things that are indicating probably things that you want to add to your backlog, right? To get them in, and so now it helps you have better scope for your project, right? And so now what we want to start doing is how are we going to communicate this? So at this point, we have the general information that we need. And so what we want to do now is just write a 150-word summary for this section, right? So what we want to do is we get the summary written. And now you're going to want to review this, make sure it aligns with how you want to share the story. And, if you're worried about the double what's this called, the two dashes in a row, like to put that in there so you can edit these out, right? But anyhow, so the risk mitigation, I don't know why I have such a hard time saying that word. The risk mitigation strategy will be actively monitored throughout the project lifecycle to ensure early detection and effective management of these emerging threats. One thing I love about Agile projects is that we front load the risks all the time. So in this strategy, one of the things you should be doing is looking at how are we going to add user stories and how are we going to prioritize those, right? And this helps the product owner and the project manager to get that stuff straight, right? So now what we want to do is we're going to, if we need to report it out into a document, we're going to want to take all the information and get it into a client ready risk strategy or an executive ready. Again, use the terms that make sense. And so now you can see you're building a risk mitigation strategy, right? So you got your executive summary, the risk monitoring approach, how often you do it on the cadence. Again, like when I've done agile transformations, we have a standard meeting. We do it as part of the refinement session. As we're going through each week, we talk about the risks up front so we know how and where we need to add things into the refinement session. So you can add that information. Again, AI will give you a very good first draft and a framework to work on, right? So, you can go in and copy these out and edit it, can have it create, would you like me to create a Word or a PDF document? We're not going to do that right now. One of the things that I want to do is just kind of continue down. I'm going to show you at the end something cool. So instead of a document, if you typically are delivering this in a PowerPoint deck, show you a cool way to build that. So based on the risks above, let's create a heat map. Now, if you have a model that'll draw image for you, which the new 4.0 model of ChatGPT will do, this should draw out a nice, cool heat map, right? Now, so now this is something that I can save this image and did a heat map and a priority matrix, right? So now I can add these to my documentation, attach them to Jira, whatever I want to do with it, right? So now I'm going to finalize this and create the one pager for the executive summary. So it comes in the executive summary, the list, who's the lead, right? The execs don't care about how you're going to do it; they just want to know uh, who they're going to go after if it's not done, right? And so it talks to an approach, and then you can do the confidence rating, things like that. Again, it wants to ask you, do you want to put this into a presentation? So we're going to tell it no, but because what we're going to do is, and this is kind of your bonus tip, this is cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to format it in a way that we can feed it into an app called Gamma. And I'm not getting paid. I don't have anything with Gamma, but I've used Gamma a couple times, and it builds really good PowerPoint decks. And then it now gives you the ability. Used to be difficult to edit them, but now you can actually edit them. You can brand them and things like that. But so let's do this. We're going to create an executive management level deck, and we're going to separate the slides with dash, dash, dash. We do this because what it's going to do is it's going to create a markdown file in Gamma. When we cut and paste, the triple dashes will indicate that it's a new slide. So we're going to run this. And so here's your executive level slide deck. So it's got title 1, certain name. Okay. So it's going to go down, and let's see if I can copy this whole thing. And let's pop over to Gamma. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new slide, and I want to paste in plain text, right? Because that's what. So let's see, and we have to make sure you edit this, right? Because ChatGPT is adding its own information. So here's slide 1 with title. So you can see that it's separating slide 2, slide 5. It wants you to insert the heat map. I'm going to leave this alone and see what it does. We're going to copy and paste our heat map, priority matrix, and then it's going to talk about next steps. So let's get rid of all this. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to select presentation and select continue. And so what Gamma does is it'll put it in this, you want to keep it in a card style. I think in free form, it'll merge everything back together. So keep it in card style. And some of the things you want to play with is in generate mode, it might generate new information. So you want to be careful. You can condense it if you want to summarize your slides, or you can preserve it. So you can basically reformat it and keep your original content. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and do that one. And so it takes away the other options. And it's the most straightforward. You can use, play with the other options. And when you're doing other things with creating PowerPoint presentations in Gamma, that's kind of cool. And you can pick a theme. I think there's a way, if you have a paid version, that you can pick, put your branding in there, so you can actually generate, if not completely final, a near final PowerPoint deck. If not, you can download PowerPoint. But I'm just going to use the default. It'll randomly pick a theme for you. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to generate it. And so now what it's doing is it's preparing your deck, right? Executive summary. It's going to add some pretty pictures. Build your table. Yeah, I mean, if you're a whiz at PowerPoint, then you're probably like, yeah, I can just build this. But this is kind of sweet, right? It lays it out. picks different visualizations. This isn't a gamma overview. If you really want a gamma overview, let me know and I'll go through it in more detail. But we're gonna leave it here. We're just gonna go through. Now there are ways to. Let me just show you this, right? So we have our, title slide. Again, you can change that. Comes up with you know, top. Here's your executive summary, and you can edit these things, right? So you can select table, you can change the format, things like that. But it's pretty sweet, right? So you basically went from your prompts to coming out and creating the deck, right? So you can see how easily, if you use this prompt strategy, as your risks change, which they do, right? We used to do a risk mitigation, like I said, every 2 weeks. So it's nice to be able to go in and automate based on the risks that you have defined. You go through this prompt chain, build build your charts, and build your PowerPoint deck. We did this in about, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes. If you do it on your own, probably knock it out in 3 to 5. All right. Okay, enjoy. And like I said, I'll include a link to the prompts at the bottom of the video. Thanks for joining me.